Hello everybody, my name is Tadis, and this is Maths Made Easy. Today we're going to be learning how to solve simultaneous equations. Now what are simultaneous equations? Simultaneous equations are when you get two equations that are both true, and then you have to solve for two variables. You can't solve for two variables just with one equation. You have to combine them to find out what the two variables are. There are two methods to do this. They're called substitution and elimination, and I'll teach you both of them. And watch until the end for some extra hard challenge questions. First, substitution. Substitution is when you know one of the variables in terms of the other variable. So in here, I know y is equal to 2x plus 1. So you substitute that variable with 2x plus 1. So here, you do 3x plus 2x plus 1 equals 10. And then that's just a very easy linear equation. 5x plus 1 equals 10. That means 5x equals 9 and x equals 1.8. And once you know one variable, you can substitute that back into another equation, for example here, to find the other variable. So we know that y is 2x plus 1, so y is 2 times 1.8 plus 1, or y is equal to 3.6 plus 1, or 4.6. And you can double check this, or with any method for simultaneous equations, by putting the variables back into the original equation, or one of the original equations, and seeing if they work. So I'll choose this equation right here. I choose 3 times x, which I said is 1.8, plus 4.6. That should equal 10, if I'm correct. So 3 times 1.8 is 5.4 plus 4.6 should equal 10. And it does. That's how I know I'm correct. Now onto this one. Here we don't have y equals or x equals on its own, but we have to rearrange one of the equations to find it. The easiest one to rearrange is this one because the y is on its own. It doesn't have a coefficient. Well, here it's multiplied by 3, so we would have to divide by 3, and that get really hard or really messy. So we can just say y equals 7 minus 2x by minusing 2x on both sides. And now we know this, we can substitute that back into this equation. We can say 4x minus 3 times 7 minus 2x equals 5. And then we can expand these out. 4x minus 21 plus 6x, make sure you remember minus times minus equals plus, equals 5. And then if we simplify that, 10x minus 21 equals 5. 10x equals 26. And x equals 2.6. Then we can substitute that back into this one. 2 times 2.6 plus y equals 7. 2 times 2.6 is 5.2 plus y equals 7, or y equals 1.8. And then if you want, you can double check by putting them back in. Here, so try these. Okay, if you've tried them, I'll explain how to do them. So in this one, you substitute the y with 4x. So go x plus 4x equals 10, and simplify that to 5x equals 10. Then we can divide both sides by 5 to get x equals 2. Then we can put that into this equation to get y equals 4 times 2, or y equals 8. And then we can double check that here. Does 8 plus 2 equal 10? It does, so we know we're correct. Now for this one, what we would do is we would find x, or we could also find y, but I'm going to find x. So I would add 2y on both sides to get x equals 4 plus 2y. Then I would substitute that into that one. 4 plus 2y over 2 plus y equals 6. Here I would divide the 4 by 2 and the 2y by 2 to get 2 plus y equals 6. Or 2 plus 2y equals 6. Then we can subtract 2 from both sides to get 2y equals 4. Divide both sides by 2 to get y equals 2. And now we can put that into this equation to get x minus 2 times 2 equals 4. X minus 4 equals 4, and then add 4 on both sides to get x equals 8. and then we can double check that if you want. 8 divided by 2 is 4 plus 2 equals 6. Yeah, 4 plus 2 equals 6. So we're correct. Next, elimination. This is another method you could use. Here, we add or subtract the two equations with each other to cancel out one of the variables to, again, just get an equation with only one variable which we can solve. So I'll show you here. The first thing you need is a variable on both the equations where the coefficient is the same, or they're both multiplied by the same amount. Here it's both 3y, and here both is just y on its own. And in this one it's plus plus, here is plus minus, and I'll show you how to do both. So first, if the two signs are the same, if it's plus plus or and minus minus, then we subtract. And by what we do is we first subtract the x's, that's 5x minus 2x to get 3x. Then we subtract the y's, and then here 3y minus 3y is just 0, so we can get rid of the y. And then we can do 41 minus 20, 21, x, and then we divide both sides by 3 to get x equals 7. Now we can substitute that back into one of these ones. I'm going to choose this one. We can do 2 times 7 plus 3y equals 20. 14 plus 3y equals 20. 3y equals 6. And then divide both sides by 3 to get y equals 2. We have x equals 7, y equals 2. Now, if one is plus and one is minus, then what you would do is if you want to add them. So first let's start with x's. 2x plus 3x equals 5x. Plus y plus minus y is just y minus y, which is again 0, so we don't have to write that. Then 11 plus 4 is 15. We divide both sides by 5 to get x equals 3. Now we know x equals 3, we can substitute that into one of them. I'm going to just choose the top one. 2 times 3 plus y equals 11. 6 plus y equals 11. And then we subtract both sides by 6 to get y equals 5. Now in this one, you might say, but these two aren't the same, and these two aren't the same. This is 5, this is 4, this is 2, this is 3, so you can't do this. Well, you can. First you have to multiply the whole equations to get one of them variables to have the same coefficient. So in this case, what you would do is multiply the top one by 3, and you also have to multiply both sides by 3, and then multiply here the bottom one by 2. This is kind of like if you're adding a fraction, you want to find the lowest common denominator. You want to find like the lowest thing you can multiply by to get these two to be the same. So here we would get 15x plus 6y equals negative 102. And then here we have 8x minus 6y equals negative 82. And then since they're different signs, this is plus, this is minus, we add them together. 15 plus 8 is just 23x. These two cancel each other out, and then we get negative 184. So what we do is we divide both sides by 23, and if you use your calculator, you will get that x equals 8. And now we know x equals 8, we can just put this in here. 5 times 8 plus 2y equals negative 34. 40 plus 2y equals negative 34. 2y equals negative 74. And y equals negative 37. So we have x and y. Now you can try these 3 questions on your own. Okay, now I'll show you the answers. Here it's minus 2y and plus 2y, minus plus, and they're the same, so we add them together. 3x plus x, 4x, 14 plus 10, 24. Then we can divide both sides by 4. 24 divided by 4 is 6. X equals 6. We substitute it back into the bottom one. 6 plus 2y equals 10. Subtract 6 on both sides to get 2y equals 4. Divide by 2 on both sides to get y equals 2. And then we can double check if you want. Here, you could either multiply the top by 3 to get the y's the same, or multiply the top by 2 to get the x's the same. I will show you how to do them by the 2. Then we will get x plus 2y equals 14, and x minus 3y equals 1. They're both positive, so we subtract. Then we get 5y equals 13. And we divide by 5 on both sides to get y to equal 2.6. Then we can substitute it back into the top equation, for example. Yeah, 0.5x plus 2.6 equals 7. That means 0.5x equals 4.4, and x equals 4.4 divided by 0.5, which is 8.8. And finally, this one. You could either make the x's the same or the y's the same, but I'll do the x's because the numbers are smaller. I'll multiply the top by 2 and multiply the bottom by 3. So we get 6x plus 10y equals 2. Then we have 6x minus 9y equals 21. They're both positive, so we subtract to get 19y equals negative 19. And we divide both sides by 19 to get y equals negative 1. Now we know y equals negative 1. We can put that back into the bottom one. Get 2x minus 3 times minus 1 equals 7. And minus 3 times minus 1 is just plus 3, and that equals 7. Subtract by 3 to get 2x equals 4, and divide by 2 to get x equals 2. Y equals negative 1, x equals 2. Now, linear and quadratic. In this case, you have one linear equation and one quadratic equation. And because there's a quadratic equation, you'll have two answers for each variable, and you'll have to answer them in pairs. So you can use elimination or substitution. I'll start by showing you how to do elimination. I'll eliminate the y's from each other by subtracting to get 0 on this side. Then we'll just have negative x squared on its own. And then x minus 5x that's negative 4x. And then 3 minus 2 is positive 5. I'll multiply both sides by negative 1 just so that the x squared is positive. It's easier to factorize. The 0 stays the same. It's just everything here is flipped. Plus 4x and then minus 5. And then we can solve by factorization, quadratic equation, completing the square any way you want. Here I'll do factorization. It has to multiply to minus 5, add to positive 4. So that'd be x plus 5 and x minus 4. Then either x plus 5 equals 0 and x equals negative 5, or x minus 4 equals 0. X minus 1. I messed up there. X minus 1 equals 0, and x equals positive 1. This is a 5. My handwriting is so bad. Okay, now we have the x's. For each x, we find a y. So for negative 5, we get y equals negative 5 plus 3, or y equals negative 2. And for x equals 1, we get y equals 1 plus 3, or y equals 4. And I'll just write them over here in pairs. So we have x equals minus 5, and y equals minus 2. And we have x equals 1, and y equals 4. So these are the two things. Now I'll show you how to do them by substitution. Here we know what the y is, so we'll substitute the y here with x squared plus 3x minus 1. X plus x squared plus 3x minus 1 equals 4. We add the x's together, and we subtract the 4 to get x squared plus 4x. And then minus 1 minus 4 is minus 5, that equals 0. And it's actually the same as this one over here. So these answers are also for this one. But yeah, there's two ways to get to the quadratic part. Now you can try solving this one. Okay, now I'll show you how to solve this. I decided I'm going to solve this by substitution, but you could also do elimination. So I'll replace this y with an x minus 5, and that equals x squared plus x minus 14. I'll subtract an x from both sides and add a 5. So that'd be 0 actually, equals x squared. X minus x is nothing, and then minus 14 plus 5 is minus 9. Now we can just add 9 to both sides. 9 equals x squared. And then we take the square root, but it'll be a plus minus square root because it can either be -3 or +3. So yeah, plus minus square root of 9 equals x. And so x can either equal 3 or x equals -3. Then we can find y for each of these outcomes. Y equals 3 minus 5, then y equals -2, or y equals -3 minus 5, and then y equals -8. And finally, we have x equals 3 and y equals 2, or x equals -3 and y equals -8. Now try this one. Okay, this one was a bit harder, but I'll show you how to do it. Here, I'll also do substitution. You would replace this y over here with this whole thing. So you would get 2x minus, remember to put in brackets so you multiply out the negative, x squared plus x minus 2, and then plus 4, that equals 0. Here we have 2x minus x squared minus x, and then minus times minus is a plus, so plus 2 plus 4 equals 0. Now we simplify. We get minus x squared, 2x minus x is just plus x, and plus 2 plus 4 is plus 6, that equals 0. Again, I'm just going to multiply the whole thing by -1 on both sides, so the x squared is a negative. We get x minus 6 equals 0. And then we can solve this by factorization. The two numbers are going to be minus 3 and 2. Get x minus 3 and x plus 2, that equals 0. So now we have x minus 3 equals 0 and x equals 3, or x plus 2 equals 0 and x equals -2. Now for the y, it's probably easier to do the first equation. So we can do 2 times 3 minus y plus 4 equals 0, which is 6 minus y plus 4 equals 0, or minus y plus 10 equals 0, y minus y equals minus 10, and y equals 10, or 2 times minus 2 plus minus y plus 4 equals 0, which is minus 4 minus y plus 4 equals 0, or minus y equals 0, and then y just equals 0. So the two pairs we have are x equals 3 and y equals 10, or x equals -2 and y equals 0. Okay, now finally we have one of the extra hard challenge questions, which I promised at the start of this video. So pause and see if you can solve this. Okay, if you've tried, I'll show you how to solve it. First, I would want to get y on its own in this equation so I can substitute it into this equation. How I would do that is I'd subtract x from both sides to get y equals 5 minus x. Now I have that, I can substitute that in here to get x squared plus 5 minus x squared equals 13. I would split that into two brackets so I can expand it. 5 minus x times 5 minus x equals 13. Okay, now I'd have to expand it by multiplying each term by the other term. So 5 times 5 is 25, 5 times -x minus 5x, -x times 5 minus 5x, then -x times -x plus x squared. That all equals 13. Now I'll simplify this side. X squared plus x squared, 2x squared, minus 5x minus 5x minus 10x plus 25 equals 13. I'll subtract 13 from both sides because I need this side to be 0. I get 2x squared minus 10x plus 12 equals 0. Now I have a quadratic equation that I can solve by factorization. How I would do that is first multiply the 2 by the 12 to get 2 times 12 equals 24. And I want to find two numbers that multiply to 24 and add to -10, which would be -4 and -6. So now I can split -10x into 2x squared minus 4x minus 6x plus 12, and that still equals 0. Now I could factorize by using each half and factorizing them individually. So take out a 2x here, and then x minus 2. And then here I can take out a negative 6 and still be left with x minus 2 equals 0. Since there's x minus 2 here and x minus 2 here, I can have one bracket that's 2x minus 6, 2x minus 6, and then x minus 2, which equals 0. Now I can split into two options for x. Either have 2x minus 6 equals 0, so 2x equals 6, and x equals 3, or I can have x minus 2 equals 0, and x equals 2. Now I have my x's, I can try and find my y's. Since x plus y equals 5, if x equals 3, which was our first option, 3 plus y equals 5. Then we can minus 3 from both sides to get y equals 2. If x equals 2, that means 2 plus y equals 5, and y equals 3. So finally, we have our pairs of variables to be x equals 3 and y equals 2, or x equals 2 and y equals 3. So hopefully you solved that one, but if you didn't, at least now you can know. Now I have one last question. In this question, we combine algebra and geometry, which is very common in exams. So I'd highly recommend you to pause and try and solve this question. Okay, if you've tried, I'll show you how. So what we need to know is that this is a parallelogram. And in parallelograms, opposite sides equal the same, which means here I can say that 13 minus y equals 2x minus 4. And similarly, this side must equal that side, which means 3y plus 78 equals 8x plus 3. Now I have my pair of simultaneous equations. I can solve this by using any method I want. Here I think the easiest method would be to make y on its own in this first equation and then substitute that into the second equation. So to do that, I would first have to minus 13 from both sides to get minus y equals 2x. Minus 4 minus 13 would be negative 17. Then I have to multiply both sides by negative 1 to get rid of the negative y and keep it as just y. And then I can just put this as positive 17, negative 2x, or I can just write this as 17 minus 2x. So there I have my y. I can substitute that in for the y over here. So if you have that, you get 3 times 17 minus 2x plus 78 equals 8x plus 3. Then I can do 3 times 17, which is 51. 3 times minus 2x minus 6x plus 78 equals 8x plus 3. Then I can do 51 plus 78, which is 129, minus 6x equals 8x plus 3. Then I want to get all the x's on one side and all the numbers on one side. So I can add 6x on both sides to get rid of the 6x. And I can also subtract a 3 on both sides to get rid of this 3. So now I'll be left with is 126 equals 14x. I divide both sides by 14 to find x, and x is 9. Now I know x, I can substitute it into the top equation to find y. So since 13 minus y equals 2x minus 4, and we know that x is 9, that means 13 minus y equals 2 times 9 minus 4. 13 minus y equals 18 minus 4, and 13 minus y equals 14. I can subtract 13 from both sides to get negative y equals 1, and then multiply both sides by negative 1 to get y equals negative 1. So finally, we have x equals 9, and y equals negative 1. So that was it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed and learned something new. Please consider liking and subscribing for new math videos. Comment any suggestions or questions you have. And I will link a practice worksheet in the description. I'll actually link 2 practice worksheets in the description. So, bye.